is the one I'm really excited to talk about. You guys all ready? This is the one I'm saying that I don't think a lot of people know this. So, number 9, getting stronger is not the same as getting bigger. So, understanding the difference between hypertrophy training and strength training, very important. Hypertrophy training is all about increasing in muscle size and increasing that diameter of the fibers and even the density of fibers. Okay, hypertrophy training is where you're going to see that development in your muscles and the sculpting and that beautiful lines. That's what is hypertrophy training. Okay, strength training is actually about increasing a muscle's ability to produce force, which is how much can you lift at that one time. So I want you to think about power lifters. They are going to lift a lot of weight all at once. That's strength training, how much you can lift all at once. Okay, now so think about this. Hypertrophy training is how big a muscle is, or training the muscle to get bigger. Strength training is training how strong your muscle is going to get. Okay, and there is a difference, which means there are differences in training protocols. Okay, so typically hypertrophy training has higher volume because you need higher volume of sets and reps to create the right environment for the muscle fibers to I guess microfibrillate tear to build that muscle bigger. Okay, strength training is looking more at lifting about 80 to 85% max of your 1 rep max. So you're going for heavy weights now to get that strength movement in place. Strength training typically involves much more compound movements, like that's why you see in powerlifting things where you have your squats, your deadlifts, your chest presses, or bench presses and things like that, right? Because strength training is about how much weight you can move from point A to point B. Yeah, and actually I knew that, Sherry. I knew a lot of people wouldn't know this on here. Number 9 is gonna blow people's minds because that's it's a very finite detail, but I know anyone who's a personal trainer or health coach would probably know this. But if you're not trained, you wouldn't know that. So here's the thing is, so strength training is about moving more weight from point A to point B, whereas hypertrophy training is about building the size and definition of your muscle. So understand that when you do hypertrophy, you typically will lift more volume at slightly less weight, and strength training, you're going to lift heavier weights but less reps. Okay, so you want to make sure you start understanding that. And if you don't understand that, this is why I say you need to have good programming, because who knows, right? If you pick up a random program on YouTube or whatnot, you may be doing a powerlifting program and you don't even know. You're getting so strong, which is amazing, but you ain't getting much muscle definition, So it's you have to know what is it that you're being programmed for to understand that better. Okay. So now, another thing is, this is going to be really interesting for all of you, is getting stronger, as I said, does not necessarily mean building more muscle. Sometimes when you get stronger, there's a saying, and I'm going to explain this, that you get stronger without actually getting stronger. Okay, so I'm going to explain this. So this saying exists in the fitness industry. You can get stronger without actually getting stronger. So what do I mean? All right, here we go. Mind-blowing moments. Okay, you may be able to lift heavier with time, with training more, and if lifting more weights, and you can do more. I can squat more. I'm in these group classes. I can lift heavier weights, Clarice. I'm strong. How come I don't see my muscles? Here's the thing. You got stronger because your technique got better. You got more adapted in, your body understood what it needed to do. You had better core engagement. You had better technical elements and execution. So you have better technical elements, but you didn't grow your muscle. And that's huge. You have better technical execution, and that's awesome, but you didn't grow your muscle. So there's a lot of people who have they get stronger, but they don't actually build more muscle. And so I'm going to give you an example in regards to this. When you are talking about building, let's just say chest pressing, and you can chest press more eventually and get stronger, which is super exciting. Clarice loves big weights too. I like that. But you can get stronger in a chest press by widening your grip, which means it would decrease the distance in the drop down towards your chest. So the distance decreases in the drop down to the chest. So therefore, you actually can pump out 3 or 4 more reps. Let's just say you could only do 5 or 6 reps of that chest press at that weight. You develop better technique, you widened your grip, you brought in your back muscles more, you arched your back more, you created more recruitment from your back. Now suddenly you can pump out 10 reps versus 5 reps of that weight. And wow, are you ever happy? Because you know what? You're stronger. But did you grow more muscle? Maybe not. That is the mind-blowing part of this. You may not have grown more muscle, you just got technically better. So we got to remember, getting stronger is not the same as building more muscle. You need a lot of specific technical elements in there to understand how you need to build stronger muscles, okay? So remembering this, that hypertrophy is not the same as strength training. So how many of you believe you need to learn more actually about hypertrophy training? If you think you need to learn more, put hypertrophy training in there, because I'm telling you, that is a lot of what people are like, I'm so strong, I can lift so much weight, but I never see any muscle. Well, I'm telling you, that's probably why. You don't understand enough about hypertrophy training, and you don't understand enough about what it takes to build muscle. That's why there's a field called bodybuilding, and there's a separate field called powerlifting, and there's a separate field called Olympic lifting. There's a reason behind it, because the higher level technical elements of this is very important. So it's very important. If you're working out and training, you're just not like, oh, I'm working out all the time, but yes, are you doing the right thing to produce the results, right? That's really important, right? Hypertrophy, people are like, how do you spell it? Yeah, a couple of people spelled it here, hypertrophy, Hypertrophy. There you go, you guys learned a new term from me, hypertrophy training. Okay, so put below if you need more help with hypertrophy training. All right, so next, now this one is maybe not as mind-blowing, but maybe for some it could be. Okay, so number 10 is you're not eating enough. Okay, so you're not super surprised by this, but I still think this is something like women need to hear. You're not eating enough. You could be doing everything right, you could be training right, you can be technically sound, all of this stuff, but if you don't have enough bricks in the house, you just can't build the house. Right? If you don't have enough bricks in the house, you just can't build the house. So this is something where, like, I always say, like, it's like, so many women, I always say, like, you just don't eat enough. You need to eat more. And, like, people are eating below 1,000 calories, or like, Cindy Cormier, are you on here? I know we were really working really hard on this, bring your calories up. But if you don't have enough calories, you can't build more muscle. You can maybe get stronger because you get more used to the move. Maybe again, like, you just have better technique, you can get stronger, but you can't build more muscle. Okay, you typically have to be about 200 to 300 calories in surplus of your maintenance calorie count in order to build more muscle. Now, that you're gonna have to work with the professional on, like, there's no band-aids here. I don't work with you, I don't know your metabolism, but typically speaking, you need about 200 to 300 more in order to really start to build on that muscle from your maintenance calorie. And then the other thing is not just more calories, it is also more quality calories, right? More quality food. You guys know this. I talk a lot about quality. So it's not just like, oh, Clarice said I can eat more, so let's go eat more donuts. If Oshone's on here, her favorite thing is donuts. You want to make sure that it's not just more calories and more quality food. You got to make sure that you have the right macros, right? Because you hear in training, people say more protein, but you have to remember that fats and carbs are just as important. and you need protein and a pretty sufficient amount of carbs in order to build proper muscle. So don't forget, you need proper macro balance in place in order to create the full body building effect that you need. Okay. And I do talk a lot about this, and I talk a lot about macros and all of that. So I guess for anyone who is listening, number one, how many of you listening right now know you don't eat enough? Put don't eat enough below. Or if you feel like you need more guidance in nutrition, put nutrition below. Okay. And again, I try to read through afterwards and see if I can reach out to give you some guidance. But put below if you think you don't eat enough. Okay. Or that you just maybe you eat enough, but kind of your quality or your macros and your quantity is not quite right. Okay. All right. Number 11. So number 11, you could say kind of relates to number 9. But I'll still talk about it here. So you train the wrong way for your goal. So it does relate to number 9, but if you do general exercises, and not like split training and whatnot, you're going to get general results. So this is where I am going to say, so if you are jumping into a lot of overall group classes, you're going to get general results, because in group classes, it's general workouts, right? And like the best way I can describe it is, if you're in a group class and they're moving through the moves and doing squats and doing push-ups and all of that, there's no stopping to see if like maybe the technical elements are proper, or what your technical element is it proper or not. So let's just say it this way. I still work with a coach right now, and he still corrects me on certain things. And I think in my head, wow, if after 10 years of being a coach and trainer and training tons of clients, my coach can still pull out what I compensate in, I cannot imagine for a lot of you who don't have that experience in lifting, how much compensation you have, whether it is in your deadlifts and your squats and your push-ups and your bicep curls and your shoulder presses and your all those things. There's a lot of technical elements that you actually need to be specifically working. And if you're in a general workout class, you will have general results. If you want specific results, you need to be specifically coached in that. Now, why do I say that? Because everybody compensates differently. So an example, commonly women use their traps a lot, including Clarice, as my coach pointed out. So the thing is, it's, you can very easily do a lot of moves using a trap movement as a first engagement versus the proper muscle alignment. But how would you know that? If you were in a group class, how would you know that? And everybody's doing everything together. How would you know that? You won't know that until you actually have a coach who works with you, who watches you, or what, like Laura, Deb, a whole bunch of you who send me form checks that I can actually go, hey, watch this. This is how you're engaging from your muscle. That you need to change. If you tell me that I just want to generally be fit, awesome. Then you know what your goal is. If you know your goal is just to be generally healthy and fit, not to achieve the magazine look or to be a sculpted in every direction, then you should be happy with that. Then you go do group classes. If you tell me your goal is to be sculpted and to have this amazing physique, then I say you need to match that goal with proper coaching and technical coaching, because it's precise. It's so precise that the angle of your hand and the angle of your wrists will determine whether you hit that muscle line or not. And I'm talking about high level of achieving. That's why when you watch, competitors or these people in magazines, you love their physiques, but their physiques is achieved by precision, not by generalities. So if you guys are like, I can't achieve that precision, but you're not willing to learn the precise methods, then you're going to always have general results. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense. Anyways, as well, I also mentioned this is, it is hard to find a good coach. You got to look for a good coach who really knows what they're doing and who has experience and who knows the element of bodybuilding, if that's what you want. Obviously, if you want powerlifting, then you have to go find a powerlifting coach. So then kind of coming into this next point, still the same area I'm talking about. So for example, if you were wanting to learn more about powerlifting and you just want to increase in strength, then you need to learn to train lower volumes. You need to learn to lift heavier per lift. So per lift, you need to be heavier on each weight, and you need to train more compound movements, right? And then I already said this earlier, but if you want to do the opposite, you want to just build more size in your muscle, more sculpting in your muscles. You then need to train slightly less at the maximum weight. You need to train more sets and reps, and that sets and reps is determined by programming. So it depends on what your coach says or what is the proper formatting of your programming. Like, what are they trying to work? Are we isolating for glute development or hamstring development or what? So again, proper programming is very important. So you have to have right number of sets and reps to achieve the volume to create hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is based on volume. So you need the right volume to create hypertrophy, whereas volume is less needed in strength training, where strength training needs more higher weight ranges, okay? So keeping that in mind is what's your goal. So just coming back to the same thought process. What is your goal? You need to determine what your goal is, right? Clarice will get you results guaranteed. I will. You have to be willing to put up with Clarice's tough workouts though, yeah? Just a couple of them. But yeah, so the hypertrophy. So I guess maybe put below, okay? Either put train the right way or train the wrong way. So do you think you're training the right way, or put below training the wrong way? Because I think, again, this is raising awareness to you. You know, I don't have your goals. I know what my goals are. I know like what I desire to build in my body and what I want to fix. That's why I go to a coach. I have him watch me, and I send like 5 different videos with different angles to him. I'm like, hey, watch this, right? Because Clarice has things that I compensate in, and I know that. And some I don't even know. And then he finds out, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. After 10 years of training, I still need to work on a lot of things. So, so do you think you train right way or wrong way?